Tonight, we take a look into what the new surgical tower in Prince George will cost residents in the regional district. Plus, there was a massive fire in Vanway earlier this morning that took multiple hours to extinguish. And 300 doctors, mostly from the Lower Mainland, have signed a letter arguing that LNG is to blame for the doctor shortage in Northern B.C. Good evening, I'm Eddie Huband and welcome to CKPG News. Our top story tonight, it's been 1 week since construction on the acute care tower was committed by Minister of Health Adrian Dix. The tower was first announced by the Minister of Health in 2020 at a cost estimated between $600 and $700 million. But now that cost has risen to over $1 billion. Adam Burrows brings us the story tonight on how the cost will spread out and how that will affect you.
It's a project that has been in the works for years, but last Thursday, the provincial government finally committed to a timeline for construction of a new acute care tower in Prince George. And the chair of the Regional Hospital District, Mayor Joan Atkinson of Mackenzie, feels that this could be a gem for the North.
I strongly feel that the construction of these new state-of-the-art operating rooms is going to be a huge incentive for health professionals to come and work with. You know, we all want to have good working conditions, and this new acute care tower is going to be a state-of-the-art and probably one of the best facilities in this province when it is completed.
However, when the tower was announced in 2020, the costs were estimated to be between $600 and $700 million. Now the price tag has grown to over $1.5 billion.
The total cost for the new acute care tower is estimated at $1.579 billion. $1.579 billion. So the Fraser Fort George Regional Hospital District is contributing a total of $365 million in funding.
In negotiations with the province over how much the regional hospital district would pay, the district managed to get that number reduced by quite a bit.
Originally, they wanted 40% of the cost, and we told them right off the bat that was not achievable. There's only 100,000 people in the regional district of Fraser Fort George. And so we negotiated down to just below 22%. And we have locked in on that number, that $365 million.
Despite the costs, Mayor Atkinson says that the acute care tower is a must-need for Northern BC.
I don't think anyone disputes how much we need this, but I do recognize it is a huge amount of money. It's a very, very exciting thing for this to happen for the North, that we now have that gap that has been long identified taken care of.
Adam Burrows, CKPG News.
Two organizations representing the healthcare community are taking on the LNG sector in BC. The Canadian Association of Physicians for the Environment and the Canadian Association of Nurses for the Environment are launching a campaign to highlight how the LNG industry is adversely impacting healthcare.
The organizations used Dawson Creek as an example of how the LNG and fracking industries are, quote, pushing the BC healthcare system towards collapse.
So we've been in dialogue with doctors in the North and doctors who have left the North for quite some time. And then we started to hear stories about how in the last 5 years or so, more and more physicians have been leaving the North because of their concerns about the health and community impacts of the LNG industry. And so we decided to start to delve into those stories a bit more, ask you, well, what is it that you'd seen?
In fact, it noted, after speaking with several current and former Peace Region doctors, CAPE has learned that at least 7 physicians, totaling nearly half of the 15 to 20 family physicians required to staff the emergency department and provide primary care, have closed their practices and left Dawson Creek in recent years, citing their knowledge and fears about the health and community impacts of the LNG and fracking industry.
Have we lost 6 doctors recently? Absolutely, and I've talked to a lot of them. And they're foreign-trained doctors that came on a 2-year contract. When their 2-year contract was over, they suggested to their families that they want to move to larger cities, like most of them moved to Chilliwack and one moved to Calgary.
Mike Bernier says the LNG industry is one of the most staunchly regulated industries in the world, adding Northern BC is all about vital resources.
Well, I mean, you look right across British Columbia, again, Prince George here, where we have pulp mills. We look down south where we have forestry operations, or we have other mining operations in places like Tumbler Ridge. I mean, we have resource communities all around rural British Columbia. That's why we're here. That's what built these communities.
We definitely have other sources of air pollutants within Canada, like, as you mentioned, in BC, the pulp industry, but nationally, it's the fossil fuel industry that results in the most deaths and the most harm.
The group is calling for a comprehensive and independent health impact assessment, but in the meantime,
one of our calls to action is to enact a moratorium on new fracking and LNG production until that health impact assessment study is completed. But until that happens, we need better protections for workers. We've heard so many stories about not only diseases, not only kind of physical diseases or cancers or chronic disease in those families, but also the impacts on the social fabric of the communities.
There is a list of 300 signatories to a petition calling for collaboration with the provincial government to prioritize the health and safety of British Columbians. However, it should be noted none of the signatories are from Northern BC. Cheryl Jan, CKPG News.
At around 2 a.m. this morning, a wood debris slash pile went up in flames at the city-owned snow dump. The fire grew to as large as 100 meters and took around 6 hours to fully extinguish. Now, no one was injured and no substantial damage to the environment was reported. As for why the slash pile was there, the Prince George Fire Centre explained that this pile was the result of a wildfire mitigation work done earlier in the year, and the wood pile was intended to be moved.
That slash pile was never a long-term strategy. It was meant to be processed and sent to a pellet mill, I believe. But during that process, they cannot process the green timber, so they condition it there and turn it over and dry it out, and then they can at which time chip it and send it off to a pellet mill.
In politics, Charlotte McCrory has been announced as the NDP candidate in Prince George Mackenzie. McCrory is currently a school trustee in School District 57 after being elected in a by-election last year. She currently works at Northern Health and says the riding needs someone who has their back, specifically taking aim at the Conservative Party of BC and leader John Rustad. McCrory will be running against fellow trustee Rachel Weber, who's running for the Conservative Party, and Keel Giddens, who's running for the BC United.
I think it's important that we don't have cuts to the essential services that we need in our communities, including healthcare, education, housing, and making communities affordable. So that's my motivation. I'm absolutely ready. I do think that I am the right candidate for the job, and I really look forward to meeting and speaking to and listening to the people in Prince George and Mackenzie about their concerns, and I'm ready for the race.
The 112th BC Northern Exhibition kicked off today with a packed house right as the doors open. One of the main events is the 4-H Club, which typically puts on quite an event, and it's more than just Best in Show. Cheryl Jan has the story.
It was all smiles in the sheep barn for the winner of the Market Lamb Championship. It's just one of many things 4-H'ers learn.
We have about 110 exhibitors in the ring this year, and right now we're doing our sheep show, and then we have about just under 100 auction animals this year as well.
4-H members range from 6 years to 25, but the bigger kids, that is the parents, often play a role.
Honestly, it's usually the kids. The kids are the ones that are like the passion, but you can't get anywhere unless you have a driver's license, so the parents are taking them to and fro. But the kids are the ones that are like learning all about the projects. They're providing feed, and they're teaching us things, honestly, that I don't even know. So the kids start the project, and the parents kind of are like the cheerleaders, sort of speak along with them.
And for the first time in many years, Northern BC is home to a 4-H BC ambassador, a critical role not only in the promotion of 4-H, but agriculture in general.
But then you learn how to take care of them and how important that is, not only for maybe something as you enjoy, but also for the food industry. You learn where your food comes from, how to take care of animals properly, and you're also serving your community while you do that, which is super important. But 4-H is also really important to me because it teaches you so many skills that maybe you can get in other programs, but I think 4-H does such a fantastic job of that.
Case in point, Sweet Pea is Emberly's 5-month-old goat.
Until she dies or until we sell her.
This is her second year as a 4-H'er, and she raised Sweet Pea as an orphan.
We groom her, and if we had dry shampoo, we would bath her, but it takes way too long, so we don't really. they kind of clean themselves.
And things have changed over the years with the organization.
The kids have seen the cost influx a lot over the last couple of years, but yet they still stay loyal to what they're doing and they figure a way to do their projects. So if you look at how it was back maybe let's say 10-15 years ago, it maybe cost you $250, let's say, for a sheep to raise it. Now you're looking closer to that like $400, $500 mark.
So when you head to the BCNE this weekend, take time to pop by the barns and check out all the hard work these kids put in. Cheryl Jan, CKPG News.
The UNBC labs have been busy with students hard at work creating a vaccine for a zombie-creating virus. Well, not quite, but that is the premise of an immersive summer camp that's been taking place this week, giving high school students an opportunity to work with lab equipment and engage with science in a very unique way. Tommy Osborne visited the labs and brings us more.
An interactive week-long summer science program is taking place at the UNBC labs, offering high school students a chance to use university lab equipment and immerse themselves in a week-long narrative. This camp gives students a chance to learn in a fun, unique way.
We get to do lots of hands-on stuff, and it's more unique than what I've done in like my science classes before. I mean, we do some experiments, but nothing as like complex as like this kind of stuff.
It's pretty different than like a classroom because the teachers are like mainly lecturing in the classroom, and it's just fun to experiment with stuff.
This camp was inspired by The Last of Us, as students are tasked with creating a vaccine for a fungi-based virus turning people into zombies. This is done by using university-level lab equipment, which is quite the opportunity for younger students who may not see this type of equipment in high school.
When I'm back in China, we don't have a chance to do this kind of lab. After I get here, I get lots of new skills. For example, doing DNA replication, learn how to use the microscope.
It's not just working with the high-class university equipment that's been fantastic for the students, though. They all agree the story-based element added to this camp really adds a lot to the immersion and the enjoyment.
It just makes it a lot more interesting, and it's just pretty fun. And it's like also kind of like scary that like that could actually maybe happen. But it's cool that we get to solve the mystery.
A lot of the time in high school, they learn a lot, they get a lot of good information, but it's hard sometimes for them to then wonder, okay, so why am I learning this? And I think having that narrative really helps with giving them the why as to why we're studying this or why we're learning about this.
Smith adds, beyond making learning fun and engaging, a huge benefit of the Gene School Summer Science program is showing students what type of work they'd be doing should they pursue science as a career.
They can start thinking about that, in grade 9 and wondering, what are the possibilities with what I can do if I'm given the tools to be able to do it.
The camp concludes on Friday, where students will present the results of their world-saving research. Tommy Osborne, CKPG News.
The lowest gas price in Prince George is currently sitting at $1.66.9 per litre at Costco. The lowest price in the province right now is in Silverdale at $1.55.9 per litre. Manitoba has the lowest fuel prices on average in the country at $1.49.4 per litre, while BC has an average price of $1.74.6 per litre.
Good evening again, everyone. We are in for a slight chance of showers as we move into our Friday yet again, and a little bit more cloud cover. The stubborn clouds kind of hanging around both this evening and into tomorrow as well. So here's our satellite map. There's not a whole lot happening where we are, but certainly lots around us across the province. So we are watching a few different systems, and we'll show you on the Futurecast that the chance of showers for our night tonight is there and into our day tomorrow especially. The biggest thing tomorrow will likely be the cooler air that will be upon us for the most part across the region. So we'll see temperatures dropping a little bit, especially in certain areas, which I'll show you on the extended. Then we've got this upper level low that's coming up, and that will be impacting the coastal sections. Risks of thunderstorms in many areas, including the southeast and up to the northeast as well. But for us, there's just a slight chance or a slight risk that we could see that. 22 degrees for our day. So again, a little bit of a cooler trend into the low 20s. We're showing a little bit of sunshine in there, which is good news, but a slight chance of showers showers and mainly cloudy is a good way to sum it up. It'll be a cooler and drearier day up at Fort St. John tomorrow, 17 degrees, 28 Kamloops, so cooling down into the upper 20s as well, down through the southern interior, the Okanagan, something they haven't seen for a very, very long time. Risks of thunderstorms, though, the next few days, and some heavier showers into the evening hours. South Coast actually looking pretty good. Vancouver not too bad either, 22 there, and right up to the North Coast, actually, Prince Rupert sitting at a comfortable 18 degrees and a mix of sun and cloud. So this is it. It is going to be a wet one across many areas in our broadcast region. 18 in Mackenzie, into those upper teens, as I mentioned. So again, a cooler trend. 19 for Fort St. James and Vanderhoof, close to that as well. Burns Lake seeing some showers and cooler temperatures. It's a touch warmer down through Quesnel, but a risk of a thunderstorm is possible there. And 22 for McBride with clouds and mainly showers in the forecast as well. West Coast, as we showed you on the map, not too bad with sunshine, and 22 in Vancouver, 21 in Edmonton, clouds and showers there, so a bit of a change. And then we're seeing things brighten up through the prairies once again. Further east, it's been pretty steady at about 30 degrees in Montreal. Maritime's looking like a pretty nice day tomorrow as well. So a mixed bag of weather for the weekend is a good way to describe things, as we see the warmer air moving back in a little bit. So again, our Friday probably the coolest of the next few. Temperatures rising a little bit for the weekend, and we will have some sunny breaks, but still the odd shower in some areas. Burns Lake, though, it'll be mostly tonight and tomorrow. You see that instability. Saturday looks pretty nice. Sunday, maybe a few afternoon showers, but that's about it. Mackenzie, 11 tonight, clouds with showers late tonight. You're looking at a much cooler day tomorrow and morning showers for sure. 18, so a bit of a wetter start to your day. The low-lying clouds will continue on into Saturday, but the warmer air will move back in. You've got some brighter skies on Sunday. McBride, 10 and partly cloudy tonight for the low, 22 tomorrow. A few showers, not quite as warm. So that looks to be where we see most of the rain, is really on Friday. Saturday, clearing as the day goes on. Still the odd shower lingering, and then again on Sunday, but temperatures back into the mid-20s, about 25, 26. Quesnel has a risk of a thunderstorm tomorrow, and warm still, 25. Temperatures not dropping a whole lot there going forward. And for us, a very similar day to what we saw today. We've got 22 for our high, 12 overnight, by the way. Slight chance of showers tonight and into the day tomorrow. Better weekend weather, though. 24 for both Saturday, Sunday, and only a slight chance of showers for both of those days, and that nice weather stretching into early next week.
The TSX is up 273 points to close at 23,034. The Dow Jones is up 555 points to close at 40,563. And Artemis Gold went up 17 cents to close at $12.30.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Dominos. Join the Dominos Lunch Club with 25% off all regular price pizzas every day. Visit dominos.ca to join the club.
A coach from Vanderhoof has been hired by the American Hockey League's Abbotsford Canucks. Harry Mahesh will serve as assistant coach after spending last season as a coaching development associate for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Prior to joining the Leafs, Mahesh was an assistant coach for the BCHL's Powell River Kings, as well as serving as both general manager and head coach of the Manitoba Junior Hockey League's Winnipeg Freeze. He became the first ever general manager of South Asian descent in Canada Junior A Hockey when he was hired by the Freeze in 2021. Baseball history was made last night. Aaron Judge hit his 300th career home run, which made him the fastest player in MLB history to do so. We'll bring you that historic homer and more in tonight's CKP3.
Starting off with history.
Hammered in the air, deep to left field, history, number 300 for Aaron Judge.
A historic swing from Aaron Judge as he blasts this rocket deep into left field for home run 300 of his career, making him the fastest to ever do it. He hit this milestone 132 games faster than the second fastest player, and Judge continues to be must-watch TV for baseball fans as he hits home runs at a pace literally never seen before in the big leagues. Next up, a grand slam.
This ball is hit deep to right. Are you kidding me? Welcome back, Michael Harris. A grand slam into McCovey Cove.
Michael Harris returns with a splash, literally. It was his first game since June 14th due to a strained left hamstring, but he certainly didn't need any time to shake the rust off as he crushes this grand slam and sends the ball deep into Covey Cove. Finally, a tremendous save.
Ohtani, a high fly ball to left. Churio is under it, and Devin Williams. The 0-2 pitch. Betts swings and misses. 0-1. Ground ball, second base, Terang, and Devin Williams. What an impressive save that was.
Holding on to a 1-run lead, Devin Williams had to face 3 former MVPs in a row with Shohei, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman. But it only took 7 pitches, all strikes, for Devin Williams to secure the win and get through a gauntlet that gives pitchers nightmares in tonight's CKP3.
All right, that's all for tonight, folks. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a great night.